whatever milestones that Black people make against hate, it ends up benefiting all the other people of color. I can't see what his end game is. The Republican Party is the party of racism, is the party of white supremacy, is the party of hate. This is wrong, and it needs to stop.
Everybody wants to go back and drag that piece of history up, but they don't want to go back and deal with what their ancestors did to the indigenous people and to Black people in this country. You got to go. And you got billionaires talking about going to space and Jeff Bezos, go, never come back. I hope you get lost. This man has lost his mind.
Boom! Come on, girlfriend. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And also I'm the host of the only online conversation in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and the solution for someone's problem. And I can't say it's Saturday night, but we're broadcasting live on a Sunday night. But you know what? Aisha and Jill are still here. And also Lala is here too. You know what I'm saying? So just FYI, people, right at the beginning, for the rest of this month, August 2022, we're going to be doing State of Things with Aisha and Jill on Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Sunday evenings, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So mark your calendars. We're not going to break up your weekends for the rest of the month. So we're being nice here. We're giving you a favor. So Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. Without further ado, let's bring to the stage Staggers, Jones, and Key. Man, that sounds like a law firm. Staggers. That sounds like a law firm. Staggers, Jones, and Key. Wow. I can't hear you, Jill. You're on mute.
Sorry. Wasn't there somebody called Stagger Lee? There's a musician called Stagger Lee, right?
I have
blues musician.
I think so, yeah.
I have no
Jones
idea.
Stagger Lee or Stagger Lee Jones. Yeah, that sounds like a blues musician.
Yeah, that's absolutely. How is everyone doing? Are you okay? How's it being on a Sunday night?
I took tomorrow off.
Is that giving us a fair warning?
No, I have I've been on vacation since I saw you guys last. And I needed a day between coming off vacation and going back to work.
Got it.
I don't know what I was talking about. There ain't no Lee up in here.
Oh no!
Wow,
oh my
I had
gosh!
to get myself together.
And family who's watching live or you're watching a replay. Actually, we can put that out to the audience. Would you like this on Saturday nights going forward after August? Would you like Saturday nights or Sunday nights is better for you? So we'd like to know that. Is Saturday nights or Sunday nights better? We're doing it for the rest of the summer because, again, we don't want to break up weekends. Is Sunday night the best for y'all to especially catch us live?
True. And also, I mean, it's so interesting because then the fall is going to come and it's going to get darker earlier. And, I don't know. It's not like people are like going out to nightclubs that much anymore. I mean, yes.
Hold on. That's
I know
different.
In Toronto, party town, yes.
This weekend, Toronto has been madhouse. Saturday night, we had Drake's OVO tour, which was rescheduled from early in the week. It was supposed to be last Monday, but he got diagnosed with COVID.
Oh my gosh.
So he got it rescheduled with, I know Nicki Minaj was part of the bill. I don't remember anybody else. I really don't pay attention that much. But then on the same night at a different venue in Toronto, Lady Gaga kicked off her tour.
Oh,
wow.
And then there was a Toronto Blue Jays game yesterday afternoon. And there was also Toronto Argonauts football game, which is a Canadian Football League. So all those events were happening in downtown. And people, we even had Jerk Fest out in the west end of Toronto. And one of the featured performers was Brian McKnight.
Brian McKnight.
I got mixed emotions about him.
So for those people, trivia question, what city was Brian McKnight born in? Does anyone know? I can give a hint.
Toronto?
No, it's about an hour and a half drive from
Detroit.
Toronto. No. Detroit's
Chicago.
5.5 hours from Toronto. 1.5 hours from Toronto.
Montreal? No.
No, Montreal's 5.5 hours.
Oh, yes.
U.S. city?
Wait, by car or?
Car.
By car. Okay.
Not Milwaukee.
No,
Buffalo.
Milwaukee's. No. What would you say, Jill? You're
Buffalo.
correct. Buffalo.
Yes.
Born in Buffalo, New York.
Rick James. Too.
Rick James also, Buffalo, New York. Absolutely. So
Vanity.
yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So there we got some things going on the Golden Horseshoe. So before we get into it, Jen says, hope you're all doing us. Thanks for being here on a Sunday.
Yes, thank you.
Wig Maniac, thank you. Blue Rains, hello.
Hey, Blue.
Hi, Laura Key. Tila. Tila's here. Happy Sun. I love the emoji. Happy Sunday, y'all. I like the emoji.
So
very nice. Tila, good for their Saturday, Sunday, whatever works for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Jen knew the right answer. Buffalo.
Yes.
So there you go. We got such smart people watching us live on the replay. I'm telling you. So let's get it started. And again, as always, interact with us, especially if you're watching us live. This story keeps on growing. So I'm going to let y'all chat about this one for a while. Russia said it's ready to discuss a prisoner swap for jailed U.S. basketball star Brittney Griner. She was sentenced for 9 years for bringing cannabis oil into Russia. Who wants to kick that one off?
Well, I saw her team on Tuesday.
Oh.
And they were actually supposed to see them Thursday. Kind of glad we didn't. Our tickets just weren't ready on time. So, but apparently they had just gotten the news like right before they played the game, the rest of the team. So they did a moment of silence at the Connecticut Sun Phoenix Mercury game here in at Mohegan Sun Casino. Well, I guess we knew that there wasn't going to be any kind of compromise. They weren't going to go light on the sentence. I mean, the judge literally gave her all but the time that she served so far when giving the sentence and handing down the max. But there wasn't going to be any kind of talk of a swap or anything of that sort until there was a verdict and a sentencing anyway, because now they have something to negotiate with. I didn't have a whole lot of faith in her attorneys, like listening to them, the Russian attorneys, because there's something in how they handle it, and maybe that's just Russian temperament, but they were very just kind of like, well, our job was just to shuffle the stuff through the court. But this prisoner swap, I think it's funny how Russia's acting like they don't really want to do it when they know that's what they really want. I think the bigger the U.S. tries to make it, however, adding more people, they've added a third person so far, and I know that they're trying to add 2 more. I wonder how that will play with Russia.
It's all a power play. I mean, we knew that nothing was going to happen, and we knew that she was going to get nothing that we wanted her to get. What broke my heart the most is the scripted text that they always give them to say, like seeing her and hearing her say, the words that she said, like, I know I'm guilty. And they make them say this. And,
yes.
And it's like, who do you think you're fooling? This is not what she is saying. This is what you have scripted for her to say in order for you guys to do your little background smoke and mirrors of who we're going to trade. So the sooner they get these details together, I hope to bring her home as soon as possible, because my head just can't, and my heart can't wrap around what's really happening to her that we don't know about.
Yeah, I think
we don't know. So
the big fear, though, is that will they move her from Moscow to one of these like satellite jail things that they have all over the rest of the country? And as long as she was in Moscow and close enough to the court, they could keep somewhat of an eye on her. Now they don't know. And this is the part that gets really scary, because this is the time when Russia tends to, quote unquote, lose people.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're a little bit concerned that she won't survive it. And I don't trust them at all. The criminals that they want to exchange for are reprehensible monsters that probably should have been put down like dogs a long time ago. I don't even know why we waste our time on Russian prisoners. But that being said, they come forward, and we saw things, as Lala had sent to you, Dr. Vibe, that it showed that, Russia is a racist place. It's not even a place to be Black. They don't have Black people on TV and on their news programs. They don't have any Black representation. I'm sure they torture people who are mixed, or it'd be the worst thing you could do would be to have a mixed baby and raise it in Russia. In my opinion, it's not even an opinion. I have too many friends who have played for these monster oligarchs and gotten paid a lot of money, but what a merciless and disgusting job. They said they've never seen such wealth beyond, the greed and the slovenly, slothful. Bleh. They're just that way, with the caviar on the plates and the piles and piles. They're just over the top. And their people have so little, and their people look down on us when they come here. These are the same people that if they with her, then all of Brighton Beach should just be sent back to Russia and everywhere else. I'm sorry. And the anchor babies and everything else that they were doing while Donald Trump was here. I really have no mercy. I was prepared to go and burn everything that was of Russian origin that I own, books, music, all of it, because I just don't believe as Black people we can stand by it. First, remember, I was giving them the benefit of the doubt that, maybe did she not know? And then the more I heard all this about, first of all, it's not Midnight Express, the movie that happened in the 1970s. This isn't heroin. It's CBD.
Right.
We don't deal in the drugs that they're saying. It's not even really hemp. It's not even THC. This was for pain management, because she is an athlete who is older, who has to go into that country because America and its sports situation doesn't pay our women anything. It's disgusting to me. This is not hash that she had in there. You get hash when you live in Europe. You don't get hash from America. Right. Nobody smokes hash. Let's keep that straight. Mm-hmm. From somebody who smoked hash, that ain't hash she had in her thing. I've smoked hash. And you don't find hash here. So let's not play games. They're up to something. It's like, and then there's the other thing. Martina Navratilova posted something today, which was like saying, also, America, this is a good time for you to look at yourself and your hypocrisy too, because we have people in marijuana laws who are serving life for that. Fix that. Right. Fix it. It's absolutely, who has been minding this country? It makes me sick to my stomach. Nobody. Everything has like a Band-Aid on it. Some old jingly jangly country. It's like we're riding in a big.
The Russian embassy came out with this great video that you should move to Russia. It's so bizarre.
That.
It's so bizarre. Come, we have cheap water. We have cheap utilities. There is no cancel culture here. And it's like,
right. And we sell all our women like the, and we do this. And yeah, really? When you're 9 years old, we give you to the Arabs. You know, the Arabs come here and play with all our little girls. Yeah, that's Russia.
Yep.
So, you know, they're
very interesting.
But you know, the thing about this that is so, I think that's even more egregious isn't just what they told her to say. It's the things that she got to say that were on her own, that she did not understand anything that she was being handed to read. They're just like, no, just sign here, just initial here.
Of course.
And so how you wonder, how does she have any way of building up any kind of defense if she can't even understand what people are telling her?
Yeah.
And when you go like beyond that point, you hear the evidence and the people who lived in Russia, the Russian natives who were there testifying on her behalf. It was like, what was the whole point of having this kind of kangaroo court? Because
it is a kangaroo court.
Because they didn't listen to any of the evidence.
But they never were. We knew. Remember, they said they wouldn't. Who's Biden's guy? The chief of staff? I can never remember his name. Pinhead, whatever his name is.
Anthony, I can't remember his last name.
Yeah, Anthony Blinken. So he said the same thing. Like everything they do, it's a kangaroo court. And let's not forget, they've got so many other people there. They do that. They just do. And we have to, the guy, Trevor, who we got out, the military guy, he believes they will move her to not a great place.
Yeah, now that she's been sentenced. And keep in mind, too, that not only did they have this kind of hearing, they refused to hear any kind of deal or any kind of talk until they did this parade of this charade of a trial. They paraded
the biggest
around
drug dealers in the world come from Russia.
Yeah,
and they want to play games over something like cartridge.
So it just to say that they were waiting for anything. They had a point. Their point was to make this a show trial, and so they did that. I'm actually kind of not concerned, but I'm just wondering if it only took like a week to do this trial, what took them 5 months to get to it?
Yeah.
I don't know, because they're racist. It's a racist country. We should have been done with them when they helped finance 9/11. Because if you think that they didn't help the Arabs, the Saudis, that's another thing. Then you are really stupid, because that's always been my thought. Always. They've been coming over here like ever since, pretending, faking the funk. They can go back. And if a hair on her head is harmed, I think that that NATO and take care of business.
So that is the main concern. Where is she now? It's like and who has access to her? Because
they're racist. I mean, even if you're in New York City and you're surrounded by them, if you're hanging out with them and they don't know, because remember, a lot of them are so, people think I'm white. Majority of the ones that I met living in this country were racist AF and looked down on Black people.
They were waiting for her to be sentenced. So now that she's sentenced, there's no need for her to be where she's been. So that is the real concern. It's like, what did they do after Thursday when they announced? Where did she go? And, it's not like 10 years being locked up in prison like you are in the United States. It's 10 years hard labor.
And she's gay. And that's another thing that they don't like.
And you were saying who has access to her? They'll give anybody access to her.
Absolutely.
Just to prove a point.
So some things I want to bring out here. So question, would we be talking about this situation if there was no invasion of Ukraine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason I say that is because
Russia was going to try something regardless based on how our 2020 election turned out. It was in their best interest to keep Trump in office.
So you're saying that they still would have erased Russia regardless of the U.S. involvement in the Ukraine crisis? Because I'm thinking,
remember the reason that Russia
election.
invaded Ukraine in the first place had a lot to do with Russia trying to get at the United States. Because remember, the United States was like, don't invade Ukraine. We're not coming in to save them. Don't invade. And Russia's like, yeah, we're gonna test you. And they did, because remember, Russia also did not have the plan on being in Ukraine for as long as they've been there. They were planning to go in one weekend, take over, and be done.
You know, this weekend, people had a big issue with Roger Waters from Pink Floyd because he was interviewed with Shmir Konish or Connerman or whatever that man's name is. And, you know, at one point, you know, everyone was like, oh, my God, Roger Waters is anti-Semitic, whatever, because he made a comment. I didn't watch the whole thing. I don't know everything. But sometimes, you know, two things can't exist at once, you know, that we know. I've learned that from Aisha. But he did say at some point there might have been some need to have a conversation with this strategy with Zelensky and everybody, you know, like, okay, you might have to negotiate some things here. You know, this is out of the news cycle now. Nobody's even really paying attention to it. What the f- is going on over there? And does anybody really give a shit at the moment? Probably no. It just looks like it's just on its own band, on its wagon on its own. And, you know, we've given a ton of money over there. I just feel like maybe Roger wasn't really 100% wrong about that, but it's true. There's no real finish on all of this. And she's right. Russia had no idea they were going to be, you know, there as long as they are. And of course, today the Ukraine took back 47 cities again and 47 regions again. But it's going back and forth and all of this. And now we're about to release another arms dealer. They get to trade two of them for a Brittney or whoever. It's just never ends. It's like, this is, you know, normal civilizations would have gotten rid of the cancer long ago. Like, just why do we even have to do this? Why are we bartering with people one time? How many times? My fear is that Brittney is in danger until we have the election.
I think they took, but here's the other thing is that I think that Russia also too, you have to remember they had to wait and see how valuable she was to the country as well. Because I mean, keep in mind, Brittney has been in Russia since October when the season ended, when she actually missed like the first two games that her team had because the Mercury made it to the playoffs last year. When they lost the playoffs, within like, I think it was like 2 weeks, she was back in Russia because their season had already started. When she came back for the holidays and was going back this last time was to finish the season. I think they had like 3 or 4 games left in the season. She would have only been gone for 2 weeks. I think they kind of held that to see, okay, well, let's see how much she means to the country. Because think about it only recently they really started putting things in place for her to have her trial. She's been there since February 17th. So I think that they were trying to wait until there was some kind of momentum behind getting her back, that they actually launched into the trial. And I think they rushed the trial through, because I honestly believe that if they could have drawn it out a lot longer to get even more from this country, that they would have done so. But it's just that the time didn't permit.
I'm going to throw in some very interesting thought process here. So this may backfire on the Russians in the fact that if she gets released, something tells me that the current administration in office is going to try their best to get her out in and around midterm election time.
But that's the
I think
danger
they're going to
with
get her out
them.
before then.
Yeah,
That's the danger with them. They're not even trustworthy enough. Will they hand her over dead?
well,
I mean, just to create crazy sentiment here.
But politically, this could backfire on the Russians because the Russians don't like the Democratic administration.
Yeah, but see, the Democrats can't. Russia is the unknown factor. If they could control it, I could see that. But because they can't control how Russia's going to react, what Russia's going to do.
But America,
keep in mind, this weekend, though, that there were our person that was going to negotiate, Blinken, and their person who would negotiate were in the same country, did not even speak to each other about this issue. So I don't think that's...
Unfortunately, I'm going to say, the Democrats could use this to their advantage because Ms. Griner is LGBTQ. Large support from that constituency is behind the Democratic Party.
Yeah, but they need to wake up first.
But to be honest, just because I pay attention to, because of the WNBA, and I've been paying attention to all this for a while, they're not behind her the way that they are behind other causes. Mm-hmm. And there exists, and this has to be said, within the LGBTQ community, there exists a lot of racism coming from white LGBTQ people. So even though, I mean, and from Black people, I mean, look at Herschel Walker's son. Okay, so there are a lot of people in the LGBTQ community who, just tuned off, particularly with regard to the issue of the cannabis oil. So there are other issues, I think, that have pulled at people's heartstrings more than that issue is going to play. Really, all the she embodies a lot of the Democratic constituencies. Yep. However, Democrats have other things that they can really tout that would pull voters more. And as we learned, like with Kansas, abortion is going to be the thing. So whether the abortion issue is something that's not going to be fixed before the election. So there are other issues that Democrats have to run on. So I don't really think this is one of those, we've got to hold this out because this is a win-win issue for us. If Russia was predictable, sure, but they're not.
So then my question the other day is, why would an American go to Russia?
That's my question.
I don't think an American should ever go.
That can't, to me, that still cannot be ignored.
The scenery ain't that good. Let me tell you, a bunch of old buildings.
but I'm just saying.
Done that. You can go to Czechoslovakia and see some beautiful ones. You can go to Paris and see beautiful ones. Nobody needs to go to Russia. Thank you very much. And the food is terrible.
They paid her teammate Diana Taurasi in the 2015 season a couple $1 million to sit out the entire season, which
but people got to stop doing the capitalism, and people have to stop. I mean, it's really terrible. I personally think that what England did to the athletes by not letting them play during Wimbledon, in my opinion, is something that the basketball women and all, even male WNBA and the men's NBA, should have stopped paying for these athletes to play who are Russian, number one. And the reason I say it is because they send money back home and they fund people and they fund this. I just think that the sanctions are taking too long. By the time they deal with this whole in the fall, we're going to have the issues going on in Europe with the pipeline and no gas and all that stuff. And Russia's going to be on top again. There's going to be a couple of things working parallel with us trying to get Brittney out. And my whole thing is, take over their houses, let a bunch of people move in like they've been doing in England. People are totally squatting in the oligarchs' houses in some of the best neighborhoods in the world, in London,
But here's the challenge with this. With
sanctions
this deal.
have not been working, so I don't know. We got to play hard and maybe start deporting people.
But here's the challenge with this deal: the guy that they want, remember, is not being held in the United States. He's being held in Germany. So that is the other challenge. That
why should Germany give them the guy? Because remember what they're doing to Germany,
right? And that's the other challenge. That even though they offered it. Germany has to weigh in here, and we don't know how they're going to.
That's another power play.
But see, Germany doesn't want to release him to them because it puts them at risk.
Right.
And I don't, as a sovereign nation on its own, Vladimir Putin, all of them. I honestly don't give anymore because it's like personally, we've been tiptoeing around this for a really long time. Let's blow them away.
So that's going to be one of the major challenges is,
there's only so much you can take from somebody who keeps pushing you around. Am I wrong? I mean,
I'm with you, but every time I say that to people look at me like, you just don't understand the background. And I'm like, what is there to understand?
The background is we let people come into this country on democratic policy and democratic laws that I go and waste my time voting for. Yep. They come over here and then they bite my hand, not only my hand off, my arm, and then vote against my interests. Mm-hmm. So you know what? I'm done with it.
Yeah.
I'm done if you come from Mexico and all of a sudden you want to run for office and you're going to be in the GOP. Myra Flores, and your parents were immigrants and they didn't come the right way. But that policy that we had before with DACA recipients, that's how your family piggybacked and you thank us by voting against our interests. The same goes for everybody else. Somebody said to me, well, we don't have to be like, you plantation owners owning us when we come here. Then we have to hear people from these countries want to piggyback on oppression and use our terminology and Black people's narrative. And on that, I'll write you off. I'll write you a check to get you out of here. Because the reality is, don't come over here and then try to play because I am all for some of the stuff that's about to go down. It's a new Democratic Party. And we're making those in office in Congress understand who we are. We're not yesterday's Democratic Party. We're very different. You come here on our policies, you take care of us and you have our backs. But you play us,
you gotta go.
Yeah. I don't believe in people, everybody being able to. Maybe Trump was right. Maybe you shouldn't be able to load up your whole freaking family here and immediately. Let's watch your ass for a bit. They do it to Africans. African people do not get their visas very quickly. They will make an African person applying for a green card have to do it. 10 or 15 years, they'll watch them.
Yep.
But other people can come here and have their green card and their citizenship. If they're smart, turn it around in 4 or 5 years. But they will deliberately refuse African people that. So personally, some rules should just be across the board.
Anyone else want to add? So when do you, first of all, will Ms. Griner get released?
Yeah, I think so. I just think that I think she'll be released. I think it'll probably be sometime around October.
Aisha, how do you think they're going to deal with Germany, though? Like you were saying, I didn't mean to cut you off, but how is that feasibly going to happen?
Because Germany's going to need to get its energy from somewhere, and the United States will make that deal for it.
See, smoke and mirrors back room. This is just too much.
Yeah.
Because Germany is now not going to be able to get their energy from
wife
Russia.
And his kids were in Switzerland. Why didn't we take them? Why didn't we go after them in the village that they're staying in? Why not? I don't understand it. Tit for tat.
So, green-eyed little baby saying, exactly, Jill, let's stop catering to these countries. They buy up real estate, but we can't buy property in some of these countries.
Oh, honey, don't I know that topic?
Well, you're the real estate person here, so you know that.
Oh,
and
half the stuff that I've sold is not from here.
I'm good enjoying this Sunday chapter. So good people, family enjoying the Sundays. We love it. We love it. So you're saying she's going to get do you, Jill and Lala, do you think she's going to get released?
I do, but I think there's going to be a whole lot going on.
Let me go back. Do you think she's going to get released alive? We can't make you make that assumption.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's too much of a spotlight on her. If there wasn't a spotlight on her and they didn't want anything, then yeah, I could see that.
The trick is, let's make sure that the spotlight does stay on her. Because come on, let's face it, y'all. When something falls out of the news, then nobody think about it. So if something else or 5 other things that they want to focus on, and then all of a sudden she's no longer the hot topic of the day, we got a problem.
Which is why I think we need a big old bonfire.
Oh, and one other perspective I heard this week.
In every city.
Interesting how one person said, if you think Black Lives Matter, they don't matter. Certain Black Lives matter.
Right.
Because if any of the people on this screen were in Brittney Griner's situation, okay, enough said. Okay,
right.
so
exactly.
This commentator is saying certain Black Lives matter, not all.
Well,
Black
remember,
lives.
even at first, no one wanted to even talk about her being arrested, because remember, we found out about it 7 weeks after, was it 6 or 7 weeks after she'd already been detained. I think
you brought it up first, like really right when.
Because one of the things that I noticed just as a fan was, because I've been saying it to my daughter, I'm like, Brittney hasn't been on Instagram. She was like one who posted every day. So when we noticed that it's been a couple of weeks, when they finally mentioned that this happened, it's like, oh, that's why. And you can trace back really to when she fell off, because I didn't hear.
But that's the thing. So this is the thing. So this is why certain Black Lives matter. And you bet, I'm telling you, the Democratic Party is going to do everything in their power to have her out close enough. And I do agree, Aisha, that probably abortion is going to be the main issue, abortion and economy. But if the Democratic Party is smart, they'll get her out by election time.
Well, the thing of it is, I would agree if the LGBT community wasn't what was needed to turn 2022. It's really going to be those white female voters who feel some way about abortion, because remember, they were the reason why Trump got in the first place, because these are the women who voted for him. So they're the ones that are going to really turn the tide on this midterm election.
Well, I think for the Democratic Party right now, every vote that they can get,
because see, the black vote and the LGBTQ vote in midterms is not as big as it is during when there's a general election.
But that's why I'm saying even more so to do this, to get more people out.
It better be, because we have a lot of things we need it to be just on GP. Otherwise, everybody will be in Brittney's shoes.
And I think that's the reason why the Kansas vote is so important, because I remember Kansas also wanted to have an they also wanted to have a Don't Say Gay bill, and that would have passed if they'd actually put that on the ballot. This one, however, the reason this vote that just went through in Kansas about keeping abortion available to women as an option passed, because there were a lot of independents and Republican women who don't necessarily themselves are not pro-choice for themselves, but believe that the choice should be available.
Okay. Well, let's move on to our next story. And this one is another interesting one. Alex Jones's $49.3 million verdict and the future of misinformation. Who will roll on that first?
Well,
this
he's
is just the
turning
first
into
one.
the Amber Heard of trials. This is the craziest thing about these trials that are going on with these white folks from Texas. You know, they are found guilty of pure defamation. And the fact that they continue to defame, I just don't get why they're able to walk around. He was found guilty for defaming these family members. And even during the court hearing.
But it wasn't a criminal trial. That's why he's walking around. They weren't criminal trials.
Yeah, no, I know that. But the whole point is they could turn right back around and sue him again, because he's defaming people after his guilty verdict. So was Amber Heard. And she should get sued now for defaming what she defamed. You know, it's like, just because we cleared the slate and we've now made you people need to pay, you can't just take it, well, I'm going to go to the appeal court and bloop-de-bloop. When you go to appeal a case, you've got to come up with 3/4 of the money. You can't just appeal just willy-nilly. He also had a great attorney who was, I'm like wondering if his attorney did this on purpose. They sent the files of his phone records to the opposing side, opposition.
That's the first thing I thought.
But the thing that they also sent with them that went with those were from one of the other trials were the medical records of some of the parents or something. Because remember, this is the first of 3. They collapsed all the individual. There were like 9 different trials, and they collapsed them into 3. And so, and keep in mind, the reason that this is happening in Texas and not Connecticut is because I believe that's where his show is based, or wherever he was when he made the comments. There is one of these trials is going to actually be in Connecticut, but I think with all that he's saying now after the verdict, I think that it would behoove him, or either that or his attorney just really isn't that good, because his attorney would tell him, shut up, because everything you say now can be used in these other 2 trials. It becomes evidence in these trials. And you already saw what happened. It's like Alex Jones is going to be on Skid Row by the time all this is done.
And I'm happy. I'm there for it.
Look, with his cup in his face, because you know he lies. He's going to be
Alex Jones on Skid Row.
And hopefully his family. You know, this is a lot of money. And it's so funny because he was like damn near begging the other day on the courts, on the stand, like, yeah, I know, and I'm sorry, and I didn't know. Well, now I know, and I know they're real. They were real people. And it's like, then as soon as that gavel came down and the courts came back, $49 million you need to pay these people, this jury was rigged and blah, blah, blah. He's lost his mind because, remember, he and his wife have gotten this divorce all to save their assets. That's all that's about.
Yeah,
that's what, remember Derek Chauvin?
Remember he lied about
Minnesota?
Where some of his assets are. So his wife like finds this out. So she's pissed about that too.
Yes.
Because now they're having to disclose all the assets. I think it's funny because remember how these cases started out as individual cases initially. So they went through lower courts before they got to where they are now. And I mean, Alex Jones, he came to the state of Connecticut and was like, this didn't happen here. I mean, that alone was just brazen and bold. Is he going to stop lying? No. But why? Because there is a certain segment of the population that believes everything that he says. Not only do they believe it, not only do they are willing to part with their money, okay, just for the sake of believing in something that they know deep down is not true.
Wait,
but
it's that promise they thought we all should pay for it? Some crazy, dumb, blue check idiot influencer thought we all should pay for it in America. His money. It was like,
look,
wow.
when you put that out, when you put that kind of stuff out there and you make money, the first thing you need to put aside is money in case you may have said something that you do not remember that you said, and somebody does, but especially when you're recorded on video and audio. It's like, and part of what got Alex Jones is his own ego.
Yes.
Right? He loves to hear himself talk, right? So he didn't know how to shut up. And to me, it was just beautiful when the prosecutor said, do you know how I got this?
Yes. It was a great moment.
Your attorneys. And his face was just like,
yeah, like what? I mean, remember, they had given them $4 million for compensatory damages, and then the 45 came to the Sandy Hook in punitive damages.
Yeah.
So he, after that, went crazy about it being rigged. And, then you go, well, so much for his contrition about,
that's
these
just
poor
one
kids
family.
on the stand.
That's one family.
About lying about the shooting.
That was the family of Jesse Lewis. That was one family, 2 parents, okay, who I believe are not together.
There's 2 more trials.
And there's 2 more trials, and those trials have more combined parents. But the parents that went after them, and Alex Jones should have known it was going to go in this direction, because remember what happened earlier this year when they were able to sue the gun manufacturer for how they were marketing. It was the written and the spoken words that from those companies that got them in trouble. So Alex Jones should have known that, okay, wait a second. I was repeating stuff that they were saying in their ads. And not only that, they were getting their stuff from their ads from me. So this is, he's going to be on the hook for this amount, not to mention if $50 million is like the average, like the low end. Think about how much more. He was making $800,000 a day on this lie.
Right.
And I think that
how much?
$800,000 a day on this one lie. Okay, now mind you, he's been for 10 years. Think about all the money that he's made. If he was making $800,000 a day on just the lie. That does not include all the times that he was paid to speak, all the events that he was paid to speak at. That does not include the advertising dollars for his shows for 10 years. 10 years. This man has made more than $1 billion in a 10-year period. If he was making $800,000 a day.
And dead dragging children, because that's what he was doing.
Exactly.
Here's the part too that is the most egregious and most disgusting part of it. He started this lie after the state of Connecticut sealed
the pictures.
Files. Remember, and I've said this before, our state went into special session to pass a law to make sure those photos did not get out because they were so disturbing. And once that was done, those pictures will never be released ever, as long as anyone here is living, right? And so knowing that, he knew the state couldn't come back and be like, oh, wait a second, I have proof. And he also knew that no parent, unless you are Mamie Till Bradley, no parent is going to say, wait a second, here is what my child looked like. I sent my child out to school like this. This is what they came back looking like. No parent's going to put themselves through that. And one of the reasons that the state, and let's be clear, one of the reasons that the state of Connecticut went into that special session to pass that law was to prevent people like Alex Jones from taking those images and creating misinformation and constantly having those parents run into these images of their children and lies spread about them. And even though that was the intent, they found other ways of doing it.
Yeah. Well, he's got all this money on offshore stuff. I mean, all these people do.
They do.
That's the first
His
thing.
money's in Russia, if you want to know where Alex Jones' money really is.
Whoa.
Well, don't forget that we talked about this last week with the whistleblower who came out about the Panama Papers and the Fonseca and all of those things. That whistleblower is still in protective order in Germany. And there's a lot of people that we want to see who has their money. And you said politicians, everybody actually. And that's why his life is in danger. Everybody.
Right. And here's the other thing too, that Alex Jones forgets. The very people who made it so he made $800,000 a day are the same people who went and tried to take down the government. He saw what they looked like climbing. They were scaling the building in regular old night,
wasn't he?
Okay? They were climbing the buildings, okay? They were trying to plant Trump flags on top of the Capitol building. They killed police. They harmed police. Okay.
And Alex Jones was
these
there.
People are capable of. He is terrified. That's why he has to keep saying, okay, yeah, I know it's true. Okay, it really didn't happen this way. It happened because he is so terrified of them. The equivalent of him running his mouth like that after the trial is the equivalent of Josh Hawley running away from them. Okay, that is what he's doing when he starts talking. Because
this is why we need a new governor in Texas, because Joe Rogan and Alex Jones are all in Texas, and we need all of that to be broken up. All of it.
Texas is a safe harbor for these people for now.
Thank you.
The new place, the up and coming place for them to be at, Florida.
Oh God, get me out.
Florida. Look, it kills me all the time how you have these Florida politicians, these Floridian politicians talking about, oh, we're going to drain the swamp. You are the swamp.
I know.
And
you're literally in the swamp.
All the signs are up. So, like, not only do I have to see these dumb Trump signs that people are still, Trump pins still up. Now some people have gotten to the point where they've marked out pins and just have Trump at the top. Now I've got to look at the Santa signs. They're all out everywhere. And it just makes me want to throw up. Why, as an American, have to look at my flag and see that as a war sign for me? This is supposed to cover me, right? This is supposed to cover me too. But now automatically I'm feeling oppressed by looking at my own flag. This is too much.
Yeah, those stars and stripes are like a horror. You know, this is like from the movie Nope, just a bunch of series of things that you just sit. Actually, yeah. Our life in the last couple of years has been like Nope, where you go, I don't even freaking understand this. What is going on and what just happened?
Yeah,
it's all Nope. Every day you should wake up and go, nope, nope. Because, and I'll only say that because everybody who sees the movie, apparently at our age, we don't understand it. It's not, I don't know how to explain that, but we don't understand it. So that's the reason that you got to see it. Because we don't understand it, but it's life where we are today. You know, we're headed into some really crazy stuff with these deep fakes and the AI, and it's rolling. We've got to clean up this Alex Jones and all of that, because giving them any more power to go in with the deep, otherwise, like my husband made a comment the other day, reality will be AI will bring a reality all in itself. That you won't know what's real at some point.
It's really about to get real. In the fall, they're rebooting Quantum Leap. So you're going to have people really believing that they can go back in the past and redo things that went wrong.
Well, this week I got an advertisement and I just wanted to throw up. You know that Facetune app where you can go in and put your face on?
Yeah,
I do too. Well, there was a whole course marketed to me as a realtor. Oh, you can just use this for your advertising, put your face on it and talk to your people the way that you, and it was like next level.
Yeah.
And they were like, it's only $1,000. Do you know how many people are already doing that and have done it in big governments, but it's getting so good you cannot tell.
You can't.
So this is a very dangerous thing for us.
The guy who sold the technology from MIT and whatever, I think he sold it to Adobe, and then Adobe has something now after he got paid. Because I remember during the pandemic, I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and there was a big thing. They asked people who were working on this, how do you feel about this? Like just not your work side, but your human side. Like this could really disrupt all of our civilizations. And they said, well, we got to get paid. Right. And then what was really strange is, so now this guy, he has a guilty conscience. So he's coming back and wants to work with Adobe to try to put coding or something. I mean, it's like, he got paid first. It's just a trip. We got to talk about that on another day.
You know what I watched last night? I watched The Dark Side of the 90s. Vice has this show called The Dark Side of the 90s.
Oh, really?
And so they investigate different things, and they have the guy who created the Y2K hysteria.
Oh yeah, what was his deal?
And that was like that. What you just said reminded me of that. We should already know where we're headed, because like he was like, trying to alert people like, hey, once the year 2000 hits, everything in the computer programs is going to be on the 2-year thing. So they're going to think it's 1900, not 2000. And the fix was simple. They just needed to redo these programs so that people entered a 4-digit year instead of a 2-digit year in the code. But none of the companies wanted to invest the money to do it. And so they were just kind of like, oh, well, we're 2 years out. Somebody will do it by the time we get to it. And then 6 months before, no one had gotten to it. So there had to be this coordinated effort among different governments in the world to launch the fix at the same time in a coordinated way that Bill Clinton had actually created a czar, to be a Y2K czar, to make sure that he organized and coordinated this across the world.
I remember that.
Right. So that's you would think that we would have learned from that, because this is where we are now. The more reliant we become upon technology, the faster we're going to have to move how we pass laws in this country and how we regulate things in this country, because the technology is developing a lot faster than our legal process and our legislative process works. So if that is going to happen, we've watched for 20 years as this has happened. We're going into year 25 in 2 years, okay? 2.5 years from now, we'll be at year 25 that we've watched this happen, where there are some easy fixes, actually, that our Constitution does allow for. The problem is that we've become divided on party lines with regard to how to implement these fixes. And so rather than fixing the problem, what we end up doing is fighting over who's going to control how we fix it. And before you know it, 25 years has passed, no regulations, no laws. What has gotten bigger? Technology and how we use it and how much of our lives it controls. We have the Ring app, okay? You can see who is outside your door. You can see when your kids get home from school. However, what you cannot do with that app is prevent it from scanning Black faces and reading all of those faces as criminals.
It doesn't. The technology actually for that is actually not foolproof.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not
for
foolproof
melanated skin.
Because you would think that they would think to do this now.
No, but be careful what you wish for. I wrote about this the other day. Be careful, because there was a Black woman talking about how the algorithms are throwing Black women out of the picture and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, be careful, because what you're asking for is to have facial recognition to really be able to assign you. I say, be free.
But that's the problem with the facial recognition technology, is that it's not catching up.
Oh, they'll get it
with how it's being used. And so what you end up having is a lot of people of color being mistaken for criminals and for people that they're just looking for, because the technology doesn't.
But I don't think they can use it that much for things. They can use it more for whiter people, but I don't think they're really using it. It's not really clear.
They actually are. See, I watch the First 48 every day because it comes on every day. And they show you how they use these things. And these people are like, yeah, I recognize that person. I'm like, how did you see that? Because we're looking at the same image. And I can't tell if that person has a birthmark on their face, but somehow you saw that. It looked like a shadow to me. And so the software, they're using the software to say, okay, this is what this person looks like. And so what they do is they just find someone who looks approximately like it, and they target that person. And that's
they'll perfect it. I'm telling you, they've perfected Facetune, and that's that we've been on. I'm telling you, do not worry. It's come so far, and they will have it down. And it's not going to be funny with the mapping on the faces. I mean, another interesting thing they're going to have to figure out with regulations is, like, now you can get a nomad visa to live all over the world. There's 50 countries that support it. And the thing is that if you look at how the IRS is positioned in America, it's not prepared for that. I mean, people are working from home and not getting the proper write-offs that they need to. And there were people who live in a studio or apartment that can't write off their places because the IRS can't figure out that they can't make a separate room. There was COVID. People had to work in the room that they were in, and that was it. And they didn't give them those tax credits. So there's a lot on the table that needs to change, because if you have a visa to live in Portugal and your job that you got is in Germany, it doesn't matter. But you have to look at, then it comes down to how many taxes are you able to pay, because you physically, they're going to do new calculations of coming in and out. But see, as Aisha said, they're behind the 8 ball, because these are things that they're not even thinking about. But right now there's 51 countries you can look for and go and live, and you can have a life, and it doesn't have to be here or in the country you were born.
The IRS will figure that out a lot sooner than the
but it doesn't mean that it's going to be accurate. That's the
only
thing.
reason I say the IRS will figure that out is because if you live in this
they will, but they're
area,
not. They
work in
need
New York,
to be audited.
Connecticut,
They need to be audited. They've been a long time coming, just like our Constitution is really not as viable as even the cheapest store at the 99-cent store. So the IRS needs to get their together, because the reality is they drag people for a lot of reasons, and it's really
the IRS works for regular people. They know how to get regular people who owe taxes and garnish your wages. They know how to do that. What they haven't figured out how to work is when it comes to people who have a lot of money and different write-offs in other ways. They have not figured out how to close loopholes.
Oh, they know how to do that. That's easier to find. Actually, they're told not to. They're told not to. They don't go for really rich people. Trust me, they don't.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Easy to find.
They don't. They come after the
It's not for because they can't see it. They are advised not to. And they only go after it when it's a Black celebrity or a Black person who has money.
Make an example out of.
They put them in jail, and they make an example, but they do not go after rich white people. They just don't. And they are told not to.
So with the spirit of conversation, the second half I was asking is, what is the future of misinformation? If Alex Jones got hit with almost $50 million, what's the future?
I hope he gets hit with another one.
I don't think it will happen right now. I think what will end up happening is that when people start to see what happens with what is the name of the voting machine company that is suing, because remember OAN went off the air.
Dominion.
Dominion. Remember, Dominion has basically sued OAN off TV. OAN has no more networks anywhere, to the point that they're having to go to being just an online site because the last cable companies got rid of them. That is what happens. Watch how that happens with the Dominion voting machines, because remember, that is a large corporation going after a network.
True.
Okay. And so watch how that happens. It's when they start going after corporations and networks and things like that, when the larger companies start going after each other, that's when you'll start to see some changes when it comes to misinformation. But for right now, they don't think that the human mind is a big enough sacrifice. For example, think about it. This whole Q thing could have been shut down the moment someone said, guess what? There is no Q. Or Pizzagate is, do you know how crazy that sounds?
Yes,
if enough people in the media were to say, do you know how crazy that sounds? I'm not writing about that. I will write an article about how insane this is. Not enough of us were out there writing that. They instead were writing these informational pieces because they thought people wanted to know about it. When they were doing it, the more they did it, the more normal it came. So what is part of our regular lexicon now, our language? QAnon. There's no reason as to why my 7-year-old grandniece should know what QAnon means. But she does, because we've made it this normal part of American life. And so when that stops happening, and the only way that'll stop happening is when corporations start going after each other. So the way that Dominion went after OAN is the way that you're going to have to see some of these other corporations going after some of the other things. For example, when you start to see like Ford and Target and those kinds of corporations go after Facebook, that's when you'll see changes. Until then, Mark Zuckerberg doesn't care if Joe Blow Bob in Texas, who lives in a trailer park and gives his $300 Social Security every month to Donald Trump, doesn't care if he gets wrong information.
Okay. Comment here from Cinema Canella. So Martha Stewart jail time was to set an example?
That was
Question mark.
FTC, not IRS.
Right.
That was trading.
Right. And basically that was a misogynistic move when we look at now that they even put her in jail.
Yeah.
And nobody else is gone. That woman from Georgia, so many people were caught for insider trading and nothing has happened to them. It's really, they just wanted to shut Martha down because Martha really made something of herself. She really did. Let's just be straight up for real. Yeah. And there'll never be another Martha again, but men don't want women to succeed. That was so obvious what they did.
But she's so smart now on how she's doing it. I love how she doesn't let people talk to her about her time served. She shuts them down. She's like, whatever, we talking about this right now. We're making brownies right now. We ain't talking about that. And you keep talking to me about that, I'm going to go walk up out of here. But if you've noticed, she's also made another smart move by partnering with 19 Crimes Wine, Chardonnay. Okay. Because most of it, like, Snoop has kind of got her in there in that little fold as well, but she's still making her profit. But all these people up in Washington, they doing the same thing.
They are
doing the same thing.
And here's the other thing too. You got to remember, Martha Stewart was smart before she went to jail. She's like, okay, fine, I'll do my time. No problem. She made sure that her legacy, that her empire was still going and producing new things while she was in jail. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and not only that, what they did was they ended up doing a Martha Stewart line that cost less. Okay, that was geared for people, toward lower working class people the whole time she was in prison.
Yeah. And Martha she just Stewart, had a hell of a tag sale.
Martha Stewart made these like hood recipes, these like jail time recipes. They were talking about how Martha Stewart used to bake the cakes with the ramen and the little things that they would get. Yeah, I mean, she found a way to do it.
And she also had an amazing tag sale like in April of this year that a few friends of mine got some amazing pieces from. So, and she's going to have more. So I might fly up next time, Aisha, and we'll go. Okay. I'm like, yes.
All right, let's move forward. Next conversation topic, Biden administration to fill border wall gaps near Yuma, Arizona. So how is this administration doing when the whole area of immigration?
Well, isn't Mexico paying for the
remember
to the wall, right? He, talk about promises made, promises kept. The one promise that Trump couldn't make, Biden makes good on, right?
Right.
And
which is
Republicans are having all kinds of conniption fits over it. They're like, how dare he do this? It's like,
I know. Didn't you guys want the wall?
Isn't this what you guys tried to run on?
Well, let's just finish it. You already started it, but see, Trump was running it with his like contractor friends and paying them off, and they were dilly-dallying.
He had his supporters raise $300 million.
Yeah, and nothing was getting done. So we legit, like, he's finishing it. And I know that some Democrats are really appalled, like some of the progressive ones. But here's the real deal. We do have a problem with people coming in. It's not organized. It's utter chaos. It is a mess. It's been a mess for many years. God, it's been a mess since like the 50s.
Understand what he's doing, though.
But the one thing that I would say is that it's really important that we do put the wall up. And this is what New Democrats, what we want.
But
and
it's not so much
it makes me think that they're listening to the constituents. I know what's happening here in California. And we have we're a sanctuary state, and it's wonderful and it's fine. However, we do pay a price and a premium for a lot of people just coming here and whatever. Some things do need to be battened down and hatched up. I don't disagree with that. I also, like I've said before, I don't believe in supporting people anymore who go against our cause. And I will never go there and bend over backwards for people that on me later. I don't do that. And, you know, this, it's a new Democratic Party that's coming, and the younger ones are not going to tolerate it. They're just not going to be about the life of like, well, we're so desperate to keep those votes. Mainly this religion stuff. We know that, when a lot of the people coming from these regions of South America, they're Catholics. It doesn't really serve us anymore to have them here. Truthfully, it goes against our party. So maybe we need to have our migrants coming from elsewhere that aren't so religious or tied to Opus Dei or the Catholic Church anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't see the value, because if anything we've learned from religion in this country is what a mess it's made of it. And it needs to stay out of our politics.
But keep in mind about the border wall, you have to read the details. Like, the devil's always in the details. And this is the part where I think, yeah, it's a new Democratic Party, but I wish that some of these young people would actually, before they start running off at the mouth, actually read the details. He isn't really building a wall. Okay, so let's be clear. He's filling in the gaps. These were the gaps that they were already filling in during the Obama administration when Trump cut the funding to finish the job. So It's basically what he's going back to do is finishing the job that the Obama administration had started. If you remember, the Workforce Investment Act from 2008 ended up employing a lot of people who ended up repairing parts of the wall that were either falling, had come down. They fixed some parts. They didn't get to fix other parts. This is basically what they're going to do.
But they're playing lightly with those words and the terminology deliberately because they want to appease to the people who don't read the fine print. That's why we're saying it. No, we know there's not going to be an entire border wall. But for the stupid people in the back, we just want to say, hey, there's going to be a wall. Vote for us. That's what this is. That's how politics is. Nobody's trying to educate about this wall.
That's a waste of time, because those people weren't going to vote Democratic anyway. I think what you
the actual truth is
there are some Democrats that are trying to sabotage.
As somebody who lives on a border state, we need a wall. We need a wall. There's too many of them.
I have no problem with people coming. I need them to come the right way.
We are dealing with serious. That is not a joke. And they get in, and I've known people who've gone out and get back in.
Yep.
Several times. And sometimes even flying back in through Atlanta.
And that's
cannot
the thing,
deal with
a wall.
I don't see
how a wall stops people, period. I think, they're going to fill those gaps in, because that's the work.
Then why waste our money with a gap? Why?
That's the work that they were already doing. Because
why?
Because those pieces of wall were already there in there.
That makes, if you see these pieces, by the way, it could be either here nor there. All of it needs reinforcement, because now that it's sat for those years, you think it makes no sense. The whole structure is weakened. This is the playing around thing that Democrats do that people don't like. It's not really necessary. It's a waste of money. But the reality is some of them want a wall and some don't. That's really the truth of what's happening politically. Some people who live closer to San Diego and a little bit in that area will say, yeah, it'd be nice to have a wall. We have,
but I think the challenge comes with the parts of the border wall that are under state jurisdiction versus the parts that are under federal jurisdiction. And it's about the actual pieces of the wall. That's why there are pieces of the wall that are, like, for example, in Texas, that are brand new, put in like the last 7 to 8 years. And there are pieces that are falling apart, because if the federal government would take responsibility for the whole border and not leave some of the responsibility to states, then you're gonna have those issues. Because a state like Texas,
then a
for
lot of
example,
border
wants
guards
a
would
wall,
be
but they're
making
not going to
money.
invest in it because guess what? Texas doesn't raise enough money in their state property taxes to build those things. That's the other part they have to remember
It's true, but people don't want it because they make money. They make money.
Of course.
Politicians make money getting people over here. The truck that came from wherever in Mexico and Texas, that went directly into some politician's pocket. It's so obvious. This is the crazy thing. In fact, a wall would, everybody plays politics with this side of it. They're all full of because the reality is some of them want the wall, some don't. Not for the simple fact that poor people are migrating across, treacherous terrain to get here. But we don't even take the time to determine if people really do need asylum or not. How the fuck do we know? But never forget, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, he didn't have a country for a long time either. I think he was living in a boat at one point. I don't know. I just don't know what to believe, but I do believe that maybe there isn't anything wrong with a wall. It's not a free-for-all here. It just can't be anymore because with climate change, it's going to get worse. And then as a countryman, we have to think of it will get worse. That is floods and all of these things and not being able to house people and not having these things. They need more regulation about understanding things, just like the internet. You spoke of it. But even for this now, because we're really talking about some crazy stuff that's going to happen because of Mother Nature. And are we prepared?
No, we're not.
All right.
I think we've proven that.
Again, that is one of those, it's one of those things that you have to ask yourself in the long term. We have two borders, not just one, but we don't see the people coming from the other border down. Why is that? And you realize it's because the living conditions are so much better than they are here. We have, how do we invest in
they don't want to live here.
No, but keep in mind, how do we invest in making sure that Canada stays the way that it does? We enact policies that will that are favorable to Canada on this side of the country. We don't do that with other countries. Why do we do that with Canada? Not because it's a border country, because if that were the case, we do the same thing with Mexico. We do it because Canada has an abundance of white people, and we don't mind that. But
that's not even it. We've got so many people who've migrated from here. Like the boomers are all in Mexico, Aisha. So much, in fact, there was an article the other day that Mexico wants us to leave.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. It's so crazy because the reason is they can't afford to live in America anymore. And this is so wild. This is what's really wild. It's like the Wild West. That's why I'm like, put up a little wall, a gate. Let's all chill out for a minute, figure out, take a breath and go, what's happening? Because we do have a ton of people that are going back there and they're living, right? And, look, Meghan Markle's dad lives in Mexico. It's not because he was doing so rockin' here. They can't afford it. And there's medical care, there's dental, everything. But it's putting a strain on their communities. And in fact, they've seen I guess you would call it. Is it gentrification if you don't really want them? I mean, their cost of living is going up. It's becoming a mess. So we don't have it like that.
Remember
because Canada has their rules. They're like, no, y'all turn around and go home.
But remember, there's also this difference too. Americans leaving America to go live in Mexico, are different than Americans leaving America to go live in Canada. And the reason I say that is because you have people who aren't doing well here, who are American born, but when they go to Mexico, they are middle class people.
Exactly.
That's why they're able to live there. However, native born Mexicans do not have that kind of access that Americans going from America to Mexico would have.
Well, that's something they're going to have to sort out, and it looks like
the way that we get to doing we get to that point is that America also has to be willing to talk to Mexico about this issue. We've had 4 administrations that have avoided having the conversation with the president of Mexico about what to do and to make a plan. That is the other part that keeps us
talking to Biden about it, though. I do believe
not the same way. They don't have the same kind. Remember, that Mexican president was also a Trumper, so they don't have the same kind of relationship that you see Biden having with Justin Trudeau. It's also very different from the relationship that Trump had with Justin Trudeau, because I mean, when you sit and you think about it, the relationship that whatever the U.S. president has with Mexico has to have some kind of discussion where they talk about policies to keep people in Mexico. And in order to do that, they have to have those conversations. American presidents don't want to have those conversations.
Yeah, but Mexico doesn't want them either. Mexico doesn't want everybody either. That's the other problem. But because we tore up everything in Nicaragua, El Salvador, and everything in Honduras back in the day, we are paying for that sin in a huge way. That was all because of American policy from back in the day. And then all the corporations that got the debt and all these people and having, we're paying for that. The chickens have all come home to roost.
All right, we'll go on, and talking about things not good happening with America, we'll go to some things allegedly good going on with America. And Aisha wanted to talk about wins for the Biden administration.
Because those were pretty much the most significant things that happened this week. There was the jobs report, of course, which was triple what they expected. They actually only expected like 150,000 new jobs created, and it was more than 500,000. And
I don't believe it. I don't believe the jobs report.
They had. I
know too many people who've gotten laid off this week.
It doesn't. But remember, the jobs report doesn't talk about who's actually employed. It talks about the number of jobs created.
So,
period.
but see, then it's a useless thing.
It doesn't measure. That's
what
very
jobs?
different than
McDonald's cleaning floors.
Different than the unemployment rate. So, for example, if a and you got to remember too, corporations don't necessarily fill their positions.
But they're yanking our chain. They're not saying it's for the washrooms woman who cleans the light bulbs. No,
but these are jobs that have been created. Whether or not people, I think they said the net loss was a lot lower than what they anticipated. It was like 68,000.
They need to categorize these jobs reports. What jobs were made?
The majority of them were in hospitality, but that's always our job market.
Okay, everybody in America.
Majority of the United States,
be a housekeeper.
Yeah, but the majority of United States jobs.
I don't like this about the Biden people. That's tiptoeing around the words.
Well, no, that's not the Biden administration tiptoeing around. That is how we calculate our jobs, period, in the country. When they talk about jobs,
we should change it.
The jobs created number is different than the unemployment number. That's why they're not.
Those are jobs. People need to be working, like using their brains. Hospitality. I have a friend who has like a little mini boutique hotel. She can't even hire anybody. Nobody wants to be a housekeeper. She's had 23-year-olds. She's had 26-year-olds. She had 55-year-olds. She had 60-year-olds. Do you think they stay? Nope, they don't. Nobody wants that. They got a taste of things. They want to do things.
But that's always going to be the problem, isn't it?
But that's what's scary. These things are dissolving jobs. These are jobs that are going to dissolve because something else is coming in and absorbing the market. So I get that the unemployment and their reports can say whatever, but what they're not telling us is these are jobs like, the bicycle maker who used to or the guy who strings rackets on a tennis racket. They're talking about.
You have to read the actual. You have to read the actual.
I will read it, but I'm telling you, Aisha, there are jobs that are disappearing for good. I went to a restaurant the other night that was a full-on restaurant, and they don't even have staff anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
crazy.
People don't
and
want.
It's a really nice restaurant.
But then
and I had to get up and I was like, and they said, we can't afford it. And not even that. Nobody wants to do the work.
But here's the problem. We can't have that complaint and complain about our failing immigration system.
No,
that is why. That is
our
why,
failing immigration. What is our failing
Yes, it is. Because guess what? When that is how concentric zoning circles work. Period. Whenever a new population comes in, they're the ones who do those jobs. And when we stop having people come in to those areas, no one's going to do the jobs. So of course it's like, well, no one wants to do those jobs. Well, of course they don't. That's why countries like ours are so welcoming to certain immigrants, because they do come in and do the jobs.
I'll tell you why we have what we have. It's called, we have something called at-will employment, which means that people can fire people when they want to. And the reality is there's
not
no
every
other
state.
country.
That's a state by state basis.
There's only one state that has, which is not at will, only one, but all 49 states, for the most part, have at will. The craziest thing is in Europe, if you work in Germany, if you work in Europe, if you work in Italy, we align ourselves with countries that we have no alignment at all with. We don't understand how anything works. You cannot fire somebody at will. You know why their markets never just all at once? It's because they have little safeguards that are in measure. Otherwise, that's how corruption gets seeped into companies and corporations. I'm just going to fire everybody tomorrow. You can't just do that. Even if in Europe, if your company is going to go under, you have to go through a process with the government. And you have to give people proper restitution and support. So nobody's just like tomorrow.
But that is also that isn't so much, I think, an at-will problem as it is a rhetorical problem in this country. Because we've spent how many years bad-mouthing unions, when that is the way how in this country you protect against at-will employment. That's how you protect your health
insurance. Well, you're never going to get a union again because look what you guys did in New York. They closed the whole Starbucks.
No. Again, remember, that is that particular employer. Starbucks CEO is he's a different animal. You got to read about him because he has vowed any Starbucks that unionizes, he's just going to close.
But
why? Because he would have to pay them.
Well, if the minimum wage wants to do so much, we should get off our ass and finally organize something.
I want to ring it in, and let's get back. What wins has there been for this administration?
Yes. Well, there was that, of course. Kansas, the state of Kansas, the vote this past election day, they had their primary and they voted. It was on the vote. Do they want to become one of those states that does not offer abortion? And overwhelmingly, people voted that no, we want to be able to keep this legal here. So that was a win because that also foreshadows. Remember, Kansas is a very, very red state. That foreshadows how some of this might go. You have other states that are considering putting it on the ballot instead of letting it unilaterally be decided by the governor. So all those states, there are a whole bunch of states now that have gubernatorial elections coming in November. Watch who you vote for, because certain governors do not want to allow it to be up to the people. So that was one of the other wins. And then of course this bill that passed today. They knew that they were going to be able to pass it. It's a reconciliation bill. It will lower the cost of certain prescription drugs. It allows Medicaid and Medicare to go and negotiate with the prescription drug companies, which was a challenge before. Remember, a couple of years ago, I was complaining about how my EpiPens were like $500 a pop because my insurance company could not go and negotiate with the pharmaceutical company to lower the price. And so they instead, what was it? I forgot who the guy was. He went and gouged them out, something that cost like $5 to make. So
Shrapple. What was his name? Scripple.
Yeah, Skrillex. It was some weird name. Yeah. All I know is that he bought the $1 million Wu-Tang album, and then Wu-Tang wanted their album back.
And he's friends with Manchin's daughter. She works for him.
He's friends with her. He's also friends with Elon Musk, which I think a lot of people
surprise.
but yeah, so there's that's in the bill, and also the first piece of climate legislation passed federally in this in this country. They're going to put something like $803 billion to
must be nice.
To support toward climate. Republicans, of course, are talking about how, the bill's gonna, raise your taxes, et cetera, et cetera. So the Democrats are spending. They're gonna raise your taxes. And they are gonna raise taxes on people who make over, I forgot what the amount was, but it is an amount that the majority of the country
is, I think, is it $200,000? I hear. Is it?
It's like $200,000 and up. We'll see a tax. We'll see a tax bump. That's on an individual. That's an individual. That's not a family.
So, you're too quiet. Lala's thinking. With all this stuff, when's my next vacation?
Here's my the only problem I had with it is that, again, Democrats had a plan and could not control for the rest of the party falling in line. Republicans, they say they're going to do something. They say, here's our plan. We're going to go in here. And everybody falls in line. Democrats' plan was to go in, they're going to present the bill, and we sit and we just let the Republicans come in and funnel all their amendments, as crazy as they are. And we let the American people hear all of their arguments, because we're going to run on all these arguments. And then when it comes to vote, we get it through, pass. Simple as that, right? You had your Bernie Sanders and some other people like,
we had to pay Joe Manchin for the vote.
We want to add X, Y, and Z amendments to it. And the rest of the Democrats are looking like, wait a second, we had a plan. Our plan was to come in here and say, we're doing this today. We're focusing just on this. We know it doesn't have everything we want. We know it's not perfect. We know it's smaller than the other bill, but we are passing this today because we have all the votes we need for this bill today. But no, you had some Democrats
take her and vote for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they had all the votes lined up and ready today. They were just going to sit and let the Republicans go with their stream, this crazy stream of consciousness that they had, and about how, it's going to raise money on, people that I care about. Of course, you care about the wealthy, but no.
She's still not going to get voted back in. I can tell you
there
that
were amendments
that Cinema.
And she's not worried because she's got 4 years. So, but there were amendments that were just.
But the crazy thing is that we still have her.
Yeah, it was like, okay, come on, sabotage Sanders. Don't do
wrong
this
with us, guys. I mean, you know what? This whole party splitting with the GOP, the party splitting with the. We're getting nothing done. I'm so tired of this. We're not in a recession. We're in a recession. We're not in a recession. For what I see with me and people trying to get just basic houses that they cannot afford anymore, we are still not in a recession. These people are still paying $100,000 over asking price.
Exactly.
And I'm tired of it. So these news headlines, they mean nothing to me. And I guess it's just because I haven't said much. It's because I don't believe in any of it anymore.
Right.
I'm not going to believe in anything until something starts to change. And in order for that to change, they all got to go. So how do we get to that point? How do we get to that point? I want to hear term limits. I want to hear it. I want it to happen. I am over it. And if the president has to have term limits, if you ask me, Congress and Senate do too. And they're not going to vote for it for themselves. So what do we do?
And it's funny because there is a bill that just keeps sitting there. They won't bring it to the floor. Believe it or not, it's Ted Cruz and AOC have a bill for term limits for members of Congress and the Senate. I mean, I also think they should also
really strange bedfellows.
Yeah, I think that they should also consider a term limits bill next session for for the Supreme Court.
Amen.
All right. Well, that is it for this evening. Man, Sunday nights ain't that bad. It's all right. It's all right. I like it. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, that's another epic conversation we call State of Things with Aisha and Jill, with our special guest today, Laura Lalaki, who didn't say a lot because she's thinking vacation again. So,
I know.
Look, I'm thinking vacation too, and I just
there you go. And maybe it's good that we do now Sundays for the rest of the month, so you can have a vacation from the week.
You can chill out on your Sunday night, have your wine.
But as always, great to have all the ladies here. And as always, they're going to leave us their contact information. So Lala, you are first up.
I am at Realty Goddess on Twitter and all major social media platforms. That is me everywhere.
Wonderful. Jill D.
I am Jill D. Jones at Twitter and Jill Jones Music at Instagram.
There we go.
That's me.
Well, this lady, Aisha K. Staggers.
Yeah, I'm at Aisha Staggers on Twitter. I've been chilling from Twitter. I kind of enjoyed the break.
It's nice.
Oh, there you go. But you'll be back, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna. I don't know how often. I enjoyed the quiet.
There you go. And this is me, the Dr. Vibe Show. This is all the places you can get in touch with me: website, email, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I am now on TikTok, believe it or not. I'd like to say thank you for everyone who watched the conversation live and on replay. And as I said again, keep on reminding for the next few weeks, it's Sunday night live, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. All right? Just want to say also, you can catch State of Things with Aisha Jill. I was going to say Saturdays, not Saturday. You put the wrong thing up. On Sundays at 9 p.m. for the next little while. But one thing that does stay the same, you can watch replays of this on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and Facebook and the Dr. Vibe Show website, the drvibeshow.com. As always, I like to end off our conversations with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions. Then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace. And don't just manage your time, manage your energy. We will see you live next Sunday evening. I said it again. Sunday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. God bless. Peace to you all. Keep the faith and walk good.